Hello everyone and welcome to the month in review for April 2019. I'm Jonathan Moore, the lead game designer.
I'm Natalie Thompson, the lead graphic designer and programmer.
I'm Megan Slade, lead artist and animator.
And my mind went blank, so let's go ahead and hand it off to Natalie.
What? So like, what have we done this month?
Oh, well, I'm going to start off, actually. I'm going to save the day. So we recently discovered, kind of recently, discovered a YouTube channel called Game Maker's Toolkit.
Oh, phenomenal game channel.
It's super helpful for game advice, and we all watched a video about game feel. And so I feel like that's kind of what we've been working on for this month is game feel. So like special animations for, you know, like explosions and like how the character, like Natalie suggested something with the camera and what else?
Well, to explain what game feel is, just to get you guys to understand, game feel is essentially, otherwise known as juice, is essentially what makes it so that the player can actually feel like they're in the game environment, so they can feel like they're the ones who are the main protagonist. Examples of this would be things like a screen shake whenever you punch something, or maybe a pause in the game whenever you get hit, or anything like that. It makes you feel like you're the actual character. And I think that game feel is among one of the most important parts of a video game. It's what drives the player to actually continue playing the game and feel like they're actually in the experience, they're immersed in it. So we've been focusing on that a whole lot, primarily just because it's a big part of video games.
Yeah, because I felt like when we even showed gameplay last month, it was kind of boring. And like, yeah, we have our animations and the shooting working, but it's just kind of like, eh. But with game feel, like adding all this different stuff, it'll make it a lot more interesting and pop a lot more. It won't be just, I don't know, character walking around and shooting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just to take you guys through, I guess, a scenario. Have you ever sat down, played a game, and you thought to yourself, this is definitely a game. I can definitely control this character, and I can definitely do some things, but that's about it. I don't really feel anything with it. That's why game feel is important. You need to actually be able to feel the character, feel their movements, feel the weight behind all their actions. You need to be immersed with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a whole lot of stuff going around us right now.
So, we've been working on that. We haven't done too much on it because I think we just looked at that in the last like week or so. But it was a big focus the last time we really sat down and worked on it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trying to think.
I know it feels like whenever we were first making the game, we wanted to get across the main idea of it first, which is just the basic jumping, how movement is. We wanted to get that done first before we started to add on all the other extra bells and whistles, which I still think is a good thing to do for game design. So we're on track, I feel like.
Yeah, we're definitely on track. It's definitely like we have the jump dust in the game, but I need to go in and like actually make it implemented when you're playing the game. We went over all the controls and we've modified all of those because it felt horrible to play before.
Yeah, I actually looked at it on, like I tried to press some buttons several times with my hand, and I could tell it wasn't really straining at first, but I could tell how it could be straining after maybe an hour of playing. And constantly pressing the same buttons over and over again, it would be horrible on your hands.
Yeah, and I didn't really mention it that last time, but sprinting and aiming felt really weird. Like, while I was sprinting, I noticed my character would be, like, pointing up a lot, and I was just like, it didn't feel right, so they kind of went over the aiming mechanics, or controls.
We actually looked at Cuphead for that, and how they handled their controls for aiming and just controls for anything.
Yeah, and we combined what Cuphead does with what we already had, and we kind of modified it better to fit both needs, like be smoother like Cuphead, but not copy what Cuphead did.
Of course.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yay for inspiration.
Yeah.
It's always useful to look at other works that are already in effect right now.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing with Game Maker Studio is we watched a bunch of videos with them.
Game Maker Studio, Game Maker's Toolkit.
Oh, my bad. They had a bunch of videos about gaming and disability, and actually a long time ago in a podcast I mentioned how I watched one about color blindness and how I tried to research more about game accessibility, and I came across mostly with just people like complaining about how games are becoming too accessible for, you know, like just being dumbed down, and that wasn't what I was looking for. And then I realized, oh, that was the video I watched a long time ago, and we watched his he had 4, I think, in total. Color for color blindness, and then there was like sound for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. There was motor disabilities, and then cognitive one. And then we watched the motor one, and so that one inspired us to change the sprint button, right?
Yes.
So you don't have to hold it down now.
Yeah, it's a toggle button now.
Mhm.
Sprint to toggle.
It makes it a whole lot easier.
You can go. We're thinking you could still go into the options and change it if you
Yeah.
wanted it to. But
More than likely, we'll still do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going now, opting for more of a design where you can change a lot of aspects with the game. I even started to add. I guess this needs a little bit of backstory. How I'd intended the game to be played is that it would auto-save automatically, of course. Auto-save automatically, that's an oxymoron. Not an oxymoron, but yes. But it would automatically save, and so that way if you made a mistake or if you died, if you did anything, it would save and you wouldn't be able to go back. That's the mistake that you have to live with now.
mm-hmm.
But I've made it now so that you can opt for a manual save option. So that way you can manually save wherever you are. If you made a mistake, you can go back to wherever you saved. So that way you can just redo certain things.
Do you have it all listed in the design document every time it's supposed to manually save?
I have it listed out in the conversation that we have, but I can't put it in the design document.
Okay. Because I don't think
Even though no one reads the design document.
I
but
do when
can-
you're not there, but when you're there, I like to use you as an encyclopedia.
I will go through the design document and I will just look at the index and try to scroll through really quick and skim, and then I can't find some things, and then you're just like, oh, well, it's here, and then I'm like, oh.
That's why I just ask him when he's there. He's so much better at finding it.
Let everyone know that this is the first time I have done things like this. It takes practice. I will do better next time.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
Speaking of doing better next time, Megan, you've complained about one thing. I'm sure that you want to complain about something else.
Okay, so I want to work on the cutscene, the first cutscene for the game, and we discussed it a whole bunch and stuff, and I told Jonathan, because he had this idea of what the cutscene was going to be, and I didn't know what it was, and him just describing it to me, like, through verbally wouldn't sit in my brain. I was like, okay, what you need to do is make a storyboard of the cutscene, right? And then I'll just take your storyboard and I'll animate it, and I'll make a cutscene out of it. Well, basically, you know, the foundation for the cutscene to be put in the game and stuff. And he did that, and I looked at it, and I was like, all right, cool, what's with all these words? And he's like, oh, it's mostly dialogue. Well, I don't know if he actually said that, but that's what
I don't think I actually said anything. It was like, don't worry about it. It's all there.
But I talked to him, I was like, this doesn't really seem like a good storyboard, and he got upset.
I remember looking at it with Megan, and I was like, oh, this seems easy.
he had like 4 or 5 panels, and I was just like, okay, I mean, and then they weren't even drawn out well. I mean, it's fine, it doesn't have to be drawn out well, I just have to, you know what's going on, and didn't really get the idea across. And so I kind of was like, this doesn't seem like a good storyboard. And he's just like, what do you mean? I tried to explain, but it didn't work out very well. And then it's like, go ahead.
Because when I first saw it, I got the same impression that she did. Not really that it was a bad storyboard. I thought I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I just read the storyboard for what he had drawn out. And I was like, okay, so they're just sitting in a ship pretty much, and it pans a bunch, and you see a moon and stuff. I was like, easy storyboard. And then, like, and he left out all the parts where the cats move or the dialogue actually influences something in the scene. And then
Yeah, I was working on it. And I was like, okay, I'm almost done. I'm just working on the ship part where they're all sitting in the ship. And then I started reading what he written down, what I thought was just the dialogue, and it turns out like a cat would say something, or like Mission Control would say something, and all of a sudden Major Tom turns his head and looks at George, and George nods or something. You know, I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Let me take you through the life of Jonathan while making the storyboard. Megan comes up to you and says, "Hey, I need you to write out a storyboard so I know what the cutscene is like." And you're just sitting there and you're making level design because you have to remake all of the map again. And you're thinking about, oh, wait a second, you know what? I should probably think about how the player moves in the world as well and orient that into the level design. I mean, before I was kind of thinking that, but I actually got to see how the player moves, so now I can actually orient it based off of that. But anyways, so I was busy working on that, and all of a sudden I have to go and make a storyboard, so I was like, okay, then you know what? I can do this. It'll be easy. So I started writing it out, and then with each panel I was like, man, it's kind of difficult. So then I go, it's like, you know what? I already wrote out most of it with the pictures. I can just explain what's going on in the next panels. And then I came to the realization, this is just a kid's storybook. This is a pop-up storybook. I am entertaining Megan right now, and she should pay me. And so I handed off to her thinking just like, I'm good. I made an excellent kid's storybook. But I made a horrible storyboard, and I will learn for next time.
I'm just like feeling so annoyed right now. I ended up sending him a bunch of like story examples of storyboards, and just like how artists will, you know, it's supposed to get the whole point across. The characters, if they turn their head, it's like one panel they're facing forward, the next panel they're like looking where their head is turned, and there's like an arrow like saying, hey, this person's head turned that way, and you know, stuff like that. But that wasn't happening in Jonathan's storyboard.
Another walk through the life of Jonathan. Imagine you are out working at another place, and then all of a sudden you just feel several texts go through, and you're wondering, what's going on? Did someone die? Did something happen? And then you look, and it's like, oh, no one died. It's just your lead artist yelling at you and screaming about how your storyboard is horrible and how you should rethink your life decisions. So yeah, we'll step through my life.
We ended up talking about some of the things that he wanted to implement in that cutscene that we ended up removing because, one, when I drew the characters and the ship, they were too far apart for one thing to happen, and then two, a lot of it just seemed redundant. Like Callie was supposed to eat, and it's just like, why? Like, she was sleeping, and then she was supposed to eat something and then gag, and I'm just like, why?
She was hungry, and the astronaut food is disgusting, and her palate is, you know, I don't know the word for that. What is it whenever you eat really fancy things? You have a wide palate, an extensive palate, Callie likes to eat food, and the food is fancy. There you go.
Top-notch palate.
Top-notch palate. I don't think that's how it's said, but we'll go with that.
So that's not in there anymore. I didn't see the point of it.
Yeah, she texted me, and I was just like, listen, just get rid of it. Just do something else. Clearly my storyboard, my storybook wasn't good enough for you.
It wasn't.
So you might as well make your own.
I told her that she should have just made it exactly how Jonathan drew it out in the thing.
Where it's just like panels and everything, and all of a sudden just whole lines of text on the screen. And I would look at it, it was like, sweet. I hate it.
I'm like, well, that's what you wrote out.
Oh, like I said, I will do better next time. In fact, should there even be dialogue in a storyboard, or should it just be pictures?
No, you don't need to put the dialogue unless like they're turning when someone says something, and then you just reference the line that's being said at that point.
Gotcha.
The only
Yeah.
time I really think I saw like dialogue in a storyboard was sometimes it was like written under like a panel, and it was only like a few words or something, or in one case a character got hurt and then there's like this huge exclamation being like ouch, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's only if
Youch.
it's super important for that panel, pretty much. If they're all sitting there and you don't mind like just the story going over, then it doesn't all need to be written out.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Like I said, I'll do better next time. It's the first time for everything. Although that was, I believe, my second time with storyboards, because I believe I had to make one back in college. And that one also wasn't that good. I think
I can't remember. Is that the one with that
the
little
animation
dude
class?
walking around?
Weren't you guys in
No.
in the
Oh.
animation class where we had to make a storyboard?
There was an animation class at Shiner.
Megan just forgets all about her college experience.
It was a video graphics.
I
or
remember
something.
Yeah.
that we made
Yeah.
like a really stupid. I made a really stupid animation. And I was like, I kind of just did
I
the
did-
keyframes.
I did such a good storyboard and never made it into an animation because that would have been a lot of work.
Yeah, I made a really stupid
I remember that
storyboard.
now.
Yeah.
I remember actually making that storyboard, and I basically just took that storyboard and put it in Flash, and then I kind of animated
I
it.
did a whole anime opening.
I feel like the teacher was kind of disappointed that I didn't fully animate it, but it's like, you didn't teach us how to animate.
Yeah, she didn't. I think that's one of the reasons that I didn't actually animate it, because I felt like I had no idea what I was doing when
Yeah.
it came to that part.
I was just like, what do you expect? I mean, there's no official animation classes on this campus.
Oh, you know those moments whenever you think back to what you were doing in the past and you just die a little on the inside?
That keeps me awake.
What do you?
at
Why
night
are you?
a lot
Why are you
often.
shaking your head, Natalie?
Sorry, I was remembering one of my classes where I learned nothing and I was dissing my teacher in my head.
Oh, okay. Then. I was thinking just like I never have those moments. Whatever. I was always perfect.
No, some of those moments like keep me awake at night. I'm like trying to sleep, and then I'll remember something. I'm just like, oh, my eyes will just like shoot open. I'm just like, please stop remembering that.
There are some things that I just do not want to remember in the past. But besides that, Natalie,
What?
you worked on a whole lot of programming.
I did. Yep.
I was thinking it was going to be more than that, but
Well, I mean, it's hard. Like, for some reason in between podcasts, I just forget where I left off last time. Like, what
I remember you saying that. I remember you saying that you just don't have, I guess, you don't have memory of what you really did, or is it just that you don't?
It blends together.
It
all
all
blends
blends
together.
together.
We talked about this last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I remember talking
And
about
I'm
it.
like, so I'm trying to remember, like, I know I did obviously the most current stuff where we, like, I fixed the doors for a lot of the things, made the level go all the way up to the boss, right, where it glitches out.
We'll fix it.
Yeah. I guess I worked on enemies. Like, now all the enemies have a prefab in the game that can be placed anywhere. All the levels up to the boss have enemies in it.
Not all the enemies. I
You know-
still have to make sprite sheets for some things.
Oh, okay.
You know, one thing that
I think
was
only 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about with the glitch that happens whenever you go into the boss room.
Yeah.
It looks almost like it combines all the previous scenes into one scene.
It does.
So what I'm thinking is there a limit that Unity has where if there's too many scenes, then it just starts to break in on itself?
No, it's because of the code I'm using to get there. I
Oh.
know why it's happening. I just
Oh.
haven't gone in and fixed it. It's because I tell it. At first, when I made the scenes, I was making it so they were all next to each other, floating in space. So the first scene was at 0, 0. The next scene was at like -50, 0 or whatever, because that's where the other scene ended. But then I was like, oh, but I can make these doors just tell the player to spawn at 0, 0 every time. And so then I made all the scenes at 0, 0. But I told it to load the next scene and then wait a little bit and then unload the scene before that one. And in Unity, it doesn't have any distinct value for time. So that could take like no time, or it could take 50 minutes. Who knows? And so, yeah.
Well, that would be horrible to wait 50 minutes to get into another room.
Yeah, so that's why it's doing it. I just need to tell it to turn off the other scene right away. Don't load both at the same time, pretty much.
Okay, then. Fair enough. We'll fix it again. Well.
Yeah, and Megan helped design the options menu, so that's gonna look good.
Yeah.
I was sitting there staring at it like, oh. You know, I'm the lead graphic designer, but graphic design really bores me, you guys.
Are you saying that you just want to be called the lead programmer now?
I did that one podcast, and you told me that I shouldn't do that.
Well, now,
I don't remember.
when we're working on Primus Star, you're the lead graphic designer. When we're working on video games, you're the lead programmer.
Yeah.
How about that?
Thank you for bringing up Primus Star. And now everyone's going, oh great, Primus Star was brought up again. Here we go. I just wanted to actually say this to everyone who is playing Primus Star. Do not be afraid to just look at my game, look at all the rules that I have set, and just say, you know what? I don't like half of these rules. I'm just going to take them out of the game and either replace them with my own or just not even replace them. Just make it so that, you know, you want all the characters to move 10 spaces all times? Go for it. They can now move 10 spaces. The only reason why I'm saying this is because I'm looking at Mike Merles, the co-creator of D&D 5e, and some of his stuff that he said. And he, even though he co-created D&D 5e, he has talked about how he has run sessions and removed several rules in the game that he made. So, I mean, don't be afraid to pick apart Primus Star. At the end of the day, I want you to have fun. So make the game your own. Enjoy it for what it is and just have fun.
To be honest, if I was a DM, I told Jonathan about this, I would get rid of the language barrier or add a language that everyone knows. That way it's not like, you know, struggling to talk to people. I would also get rid of weight, because that's just something I hate in all games.
That's actually something I'm going to be getting rid of in Primus Star for our session. I'm getting rid of the over-encumbrance thing entirely.
Okay. And then I also thought about how I would also get rid of damage resistance, because I don't understand it.
I never buy more bullets.
Natalie just always has infinite bullets. I wouldn't change it.
See, that is one thing that I also struggle with, is it feels like ammunition. I don't know if people actually keep track of it.
I don't.
Do you actually look at it? Do you say, oh, I took a shot. Okay, then. Let me erase this number real fast and put down another number.
No,
oh, I took another shot. Let me erase that number.
But I also try not to use my ammunition. Just use my powers so I don't have to keep track of that.
So I'm trying to think of a rule that I can put into place where it's actually easier to keep track of everything for the players so they don't have to think about their ammunition.
You could do a rule like you don't have to count your ammunition, but every time you take a short rest, you take out this much money, and it says it refills your ammunition.
Every encounter, you take out that much money.
Yeah, you could do encounter or short rest or whatever. I don't
know about encounter, because then people might be really broke by the end of it.
How about
and
this?
That's true.
How about this? Let's do the rest and just make it so that you take out a certain amount of ammunition instead. So you still buy ammunition,
Yeah, you
but
could
the
do that.
ammunition acts as like a thing. And then if you take a short rest and you don't have the ammunition to actually restore, then you just can't use that weapon after the short rest.
What if you don't use any ammunition during the battle, and then are you going to punish that player by being like, well, you still need to buy ammunition?
Well, that's one thing. I think I might actually use the rules from Gamma World. What they have is if you use a gun in an encounter once, then that means you are fine on ammunition, but if you use it again, then that means you have to actually go and buy ammunition. Kind of combining that with our rule, what would happen is if you don't use your gun at all for that day, then that means you don't have to restore your ammunition. But if you do use it, then that means you do have to restore it, of course.
Okay.
So one shot means, sorry, you used it, you're going to have to spend ammunition points and everything. But if you don't use it, you're completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
So if you use one shot, you might as well start to use 200. So the only thing that you would have to keep track of at that point would be your clip size. Because I think clip size, well, the whole reloading thing is still important.
Yeah,
for
I
the
keep
game.
track of the reloading, just not how many
I
bullets.
wouldn't keep track of reloading either.
And that seems important because
It is important for the game, I feel like, in my regards, because then it makes it so that there's breaks in between
Well, you
combos.
have
I'm
so
sure
many
it is,
actions.
but I haven't encountered reloading yet in your game, so I haven't experienced
I guess you
it.
just don't use your gun enough to
Yeah, I'm a biotic, so I use my vortex like a lot.
Because some of the guns in that game have like 2 shots and then reload. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
I haven't experienced reloading yet. So.
Ooh, maybe that's a thing that I could do. And like where it recharges ammunition, it's based off of how much a clip is on your weapon. And that's the amount of ammunition you give up every single time you rest. For
Okay.
instance, the clip size, like for a sniper rifle, is 2.
Yeah.
So that means you just give up 2 ammunition for that. Or a clip size for a automatic, an assault rifle, that's, I think, 30. So you automatically give up 30 ammunition for that gun. So that's one thing. I'll think
Maybe.
about it. I'll think
Don't
about
make it too complicated. We're simpling the rules down for people who don't want to think.
Yeah, that's why I got rid of. I would get rid of damage resistance if I was a DM.
But I just wanted to tell that to you guys, though, whoever's playing the game, that definitely just go out, have fun, get rid of rules, destroy the game, and remake it yourself.
Yeah, if you need to, because it's just, the game is pretty much a basis of, like, if I wanted to do a role-playing game in space, well, here's all the assets I'd need for that, pretty much, without... Even if you didn't want to follow any of the rules, you could be like, what's in this book for space, pretty much?
Yeah, it's essentially, I guess the base part of it is to look at it, see the races, see the classes, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the rules that's combining all of it together, whatever. Change them. You can even change how the abilities work or how the powers work or anything like that.
That might get complicated.
That might get
And
complicated,
You might want to
yes.
talk to your DM or GM, whatever we're calling it.
GM, Game Master. There's not really any dungeons in the game, but I suppose you could make space dungeons. Which, I mean, an old spaceship, isn't that a space dungeon?
Yeah, an abandoned ghost-filled spaceship.
Speaking of which, we're going to be guiding ghosts. I know that. But enough Primus Star. Yes, finally. Done with Primus Star now. Everyone, clap your hands.
Yay!
Off of that rant, going back to Feline Frontier. And then
Um,
silence.
No, I think I like how Feline Frontier is coming out. I really hope, like, the game feel stuff adds a lot of pressure to me. Like Jonathan said, he's really new at this. I'm really new at this, and sometimes I'm sitting there staring at it like, how do I do this?
You know what? I'll do you one better. Megan's really new at this.
Well, I think she has the most experience, though.
Well, I mean, doing animations over and over again, it's like
Yeah.
kind of the same. Like I've gotten better. I feel like I've understood timing a lot more because when I first started animation, like in college, I did that like pencil drawn animation. Some of it, like they talked about framing and stuff, like how to do the frames, and like it would confuse me sometimes. And doing pixel art, it's a little bit choppier, but it's helping me understand timing and stuff. And one thing is like it's kind of like common knowledge. I know, well, maybe not common knowledge, just like something I knew about before like hearing about what it was called is anticipation frames for when you know like like an enemy is about to attack, or even like the character is about to attack. So like a boss could be powering up a move, and depending on how strong it is, depends on how long they take to power it up and then attack you. And so you can either move away in time, or like take your chances and like shoot them like right up close while they're about to slash at you or something. So that's the thing with animation that I've learned.
So I don't know.
Primarily only with, I think, game animation. I don't think you really see that in like movie animation or anything like
Oh
that.
no, you do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, like.
I guess that makes
cartoons.
sense because it needs to have that power behind it. I gotcha. Yeah.
I know. I think Powerpuff Girls. A lot of the fighting scenes would pop a lot because, like, their animations were really short, so the characters would like punch really fast, and I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know if I imagine this, but I've been playing Pokemon recently, and when I'm about to kill something, it really feels like when it's low health, its health goes down so slowly. I'm like, oh my god, is it dead or is it gonna have 1 health?
I like how you say whenever you kill something.
No.
Yeah, you don't kill Pokemon.
Who
Natalie.
cares? They faint.
To be fair,
Defeat them.
to be fair, in the manga, I believe that there was one thing where it was like a, was it a cobra?
It was an Arbok.
Arbok, not cobra. What am I thinking? Arbok, whose like head got cut off or something like that.
Something like that. I think it was like a zombie thing.
I can't remember.
I
A
don't
zombie
know. I never,
thing.
Yeah, I never read the manga exactly, but I remember hearing about that scene. There's a bunch of different mangas. I think that came from the Pikachu tale or something red, I think.
So there you go. Killing Pokemon.
Also, how are we gonna know the enemy's health in this game? Is it in the design document?
It is in the design document. I know that at least. I've seen that when I've scrolled through to look at
Yes, and it
enemies.
also explains how much damage is done to the health based off of the weapon that you have.
No, I've seen that part, but like, and I know how much health the enemy has, and I know how much health they deal, and I know how much health they take. I just don't know how the player's supposed to know how much.
Oh, are you
how
going to be
players-
able to see their health bar or something?
Yeah.
No, there's no health bar
No.
system for the enemies.
Okay, so do they turn colors, or how do you know they're getting low?
I imagine they kind of look like, when you hit them, they kind of just like flash white or something. Well, depending on like whatever frame they have, it just flashes white, and then eventually they'll die. Did they have a knockback? Do enemies get knocked back when you shoot them?
Charged Blaster, I believe, has a knockback. Either that or it's only with George with the Charged Blaster. Or maybe George just has a higher chance to knock back enemies with a Charged Blaster. But the enemies don't actually get knocked back
Do they
from
slow
damage.
down?
That, I would say yes. They probably like do a little
They
stutter.
like stay on the frame for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I have to test that out. I'm wondering if that'll be okay. Like for bosses, it's okay, but
I'm sure that it would be okay for enemies as well. Because I'm
maybe.
thinking about other games that I played, and they do the exact same thing, where it just stutters on that frame the enemy is
Yeah.
on, and then it keeps on going.
Even for like a split second, they like freeze for a moment,
What?
but then they keep on going.
Well, I don't mind that part. I'm just thinking about the low health and knowing how long it takes to kill
Oh.
something. And
Typically, all the enemies die pretty quickly,
okay,
based off of the damage that you're doing and the
Are
health
bosses
that they
gonna
have.
have a health bar?
Bosses will not have a health bar.
I think it's fine for bosses because with bosses, it's more like that anticipation of oh my god, you know.
Now, one thing that we could do is make it so that there is a power-up maybe that we add into the game that makes it so that you can actually see the health bars of enemies.
I don't know if that'll be necessary because you have. I feel like there aren't enough variety of enemies where, like, that'll be redundant by the time they pick it up because they'll already know. If
Yeah,
you
they
kill
already
it,
know it's like this is many shots kills this enemy.
yeah, if you kill it enough, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
I gotcha. Yeah, we should be fine then. Yeah, I just feel like it wouldn't make sense for you to know the health bar.
Yeah.
Of,
well, I was thinking like it doesn't really need a health bar. I was just thinking like if they got low, maybe they got more red or something. You know, like
I mean, could you do that with Unity?
yeah, I can do that in Unity.
Otherwise, I'd have to make a whole bunch of new sprites. And
no,
that'd
I
be a
can do it
pain.
in Unity.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
okay.
I'd have to make like whole new sprite sheets or make the enemy sprite sheets even bigger because it'd be like every frame they'd be a different color.
Well, they don't need to change every frame. Just under they get a certain health or something. Maybe.
Well,
It's
I
just
feel
an
like
idea
that'd
I'm
still
throwing
be
out
every
there.
Frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for every animation that they do.
Yeah.
But we need to show that. But I think we'll be fine. We'll look at it in the game, see how it turns out, and if we decide that we do need something else added on top of it, we'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like enemies should be fine. The only other thing I
Are
can
they-
think of is maybe bosses. Make it so that they kind of turn red if their health goes low. But most of the bosses have a sort of
Low health animation kind of thing, or
not really low health animation, just a low health look. Although
No, only Crad has that.
Crad,
That was
Kurg will have that.
Oh, Kurg, whatever. I haven't worked on Kurg at all.
And
not
the
even
other
designed.
bosses don't because they're too powerful.
I think it's okay. I kind of feel like it's more okay for the bosses not to have it, because I think they should be freaking out while killing the bosses. Like, oh my god, is this thing lasting forever?
Well, I mean, Crad has its damage frames because, like, he's not frame by frame animation like all the other bosses. He's supposed to be animated within the program. But all the other bosses, if I were to add damaged, like, you know, appearances for them, that'd be a huge sprite sheet, because all, like, they're not all broken up like Crad is, where it's like Crad has his main body, then he's got like his arm connectors, and he has one claw and then another claw, then his legs. But with the other bosses, they're all like one thing, basically.
One entity.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that we have done this month is, like, everyone's in Unity now. So, like, Megan's doing her animations a little bit in Unity. Jonathan's been working on the tiles in Unity, but I was showing him how to do, like, the door programming stuff, so.
Yeah. Speaking of programming, I have also been studying programming. I've been studying C++, been looking at all that. I know that I've been able to kind of read C++, but I would rather actually know how to actually write it as well. I know I said actually twice. Don't judge me. But I would like to learn how to write C++ as well. So I've been learning a lot about that. And maybe, who knows, I could help Natalie at some point in the near future.
Maybe.
But Natalie showed me how to, like, actually change the animations within the Unity program so I could make it move better. Because I was looking at Gelectrocuties with their animation and I didn't like it. And I was like, no, this frame's supposed to linger longer and this frame's supposed to linger shorter. So it's like, you know, the flow is different. And then she just showed me how to do it. And I was like, okay. And then I changed it up and stuff. And eventually I'll do that with other enemies. That way she doesn't have to do it, and I can, like, because I can just open up Photoshop and see how long I have certain frames set for, and I can just edit them in.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier for her to do it than to me take her sprites and guess.
Yeah, so technical animation.
Is this where it belongs? I guess.
That's pretty much what I've been doing. I'm like, okay, let's see how this looks.
We are making it look good, everyone. It's going to be fine.
But I did that with the Gelectrocuties first because they only have one animation. It's just a looping animation. And then I'm going to have to do that with all the other animations. And I'm going to progressively move up from the different enemies that have more and more animations. That way I can get a better feel of it. Next one I'll probably work on is probably the Swallows. So they got 2 animations.
You should look over at the animator controller for the character at some point.
Okay.
It's so overwhelming.
Oh, I don't want to.
I just want you to look at it.
I'm gonna be like, I don't want to work on this anymore.
It's the one that you showed me, right?
Yeah, it's crazy looking, and I've added the death and the damage animations into there too now. I'm gonna delete some of them though. We've discussed it, and some of them can be deleted.
Which ones?
Jumping down,
Oh,
pointing
yeah.
diagonally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
they would be able to do that.
I know if everyone discussed that and decided to get rid of those animations like right after I made all the sprite sheets for the cats, I would have been very angry. But now, since I've had time to, like, you know, move on from those sprite sheets, I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly fine with them getting rid of those
I
animations.
mean, there are just some times where you make something and it turns out we actually don't need it.
I know, but I would just be like, I made those animations, you're not even going to use them?
That's how I felt about telling you about the health bar. I was like, oh, I don't want to tell her.
I was more fine with that, though.
Okay.
And I didn't spend a lot, like, it was very tedious making it, but it wasn't like I put a lot of hard work into that, like
That's
I did with the
true.
animations. It wasn't like I
fine.
sat there trying to figure out how are they gonna look looking down, and, you know, how is their tail gonna move, and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just thought of something. The health bar right now is in the shape of a cat in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
I find that funny.
Why?
Mainly because I feel like it's... Imagine a human out in space. They look into their left corner of their visor and they see a human in a spacesuit in a shape for their health.
It's
like
more for player aesthetics than it is for realism.
aesthetics.
Whatever. I don't know.
Aesthetic. Gotta put
I can't
emphasis on the S.
speak.
Aesthetics.
Okay, so
Man.
I just wanted to let that off my chest.
So going off of I can't speak, I want to bring this up. So Jonathan was thinking about doing
Okay, then going to this place.
an Evil Pig After Hours YouTube channel, and I was thinking,
Well, it wouldn't be a YouTube channel. It would still be on the Evil Pig
YouTube
series.
There we go. And where he would play video games with his friends and stuff and record it and upload it. And I was thinking, me and Natalie can do that, and we'll play these other games like puzzle games, story-based games, because we like those games. And I was just thinking how we're gonna be stumbling over our words this whole entire time. Like, I'm terrible at reading out loud, and Natalie stumbles over her words. I stumble over mine all the time. It's gonna be great to listen to.
We're so pleasant.
So just to let you all know then, Evil Pig After Hours is where you want quality. If you want the kind of stuff, that's going to be with Natalie and me.
It'll be funny.
But yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. I know it sounds kind of weird, a video game development indie company making Let's Plays. But, you know, I feel like it's going to be fun, and I feel like I want to entertain the masses.
I'm sure we'll talk about gameplay and especially looking at games we'll discuss like different game features and like design things that they did in the game.
It's just a build up so when our game comes out we can do a let's play of it.
Yeah.
I guess we could
Yeah,
do a Let's
why
Play of
wouldn't
our own
we?
game. I mean, that makes sense, I guess, honestly.
You didn't think about that, John? The look on your face was just like, you know
I
what?
was just thinking about having some fun, turning off my brain for a little while, and just talking over a video game.
We're gonna play this game so much, testing it, and just from working
It's
on
gonna
it.
be so easy.
Well, I was thinking we're gonna be like, oh, we gotta play this game. That's how that's from what I heard. A lot of people who work on games are like, there's.
Well, me and Megan aren't gonna play our game. It's gonna be Jonathan and his group.
I don't know. We could switch.
Maybe. I don't know. I have to look at the game so much already.
Well, if you don't want to play it, I would.
I'll still play it.
Megan's gonna play most
you
of the
know what?
games, and I'm gonna sit there.
It would be fun. Instead of me playing it, I'll just have one of my friends play it that's never played it before, and I'll just watch them.
Yeah.
Oh, I told him that because we need to play test it to see how the game feels and everything, and the best people to get to play test games are people who've never played games before or barely played games. So I'm gonna ask my mom to do that.
To be fair, she's played Epic Mickey several times.
She has, but she is not used to like a computer keyboard style shooting game.
Are you sure? I feel like she is an expert World of Warcraft player.
It really doesn't transfer over to a 2D.
I mean, I don't think that
side-scrolling
she's ever
shooting.
played World of Warcraft anyways.
No, she hasn't. But I'm saying that wouldn't transfer over. The other best person to get to play would be your mom.
Debatable. I think that my mom doesn't know how a lot of things work on the computer.
Exactly. She'd be perfect for playtesting.
I think if they're too not knowing how to do it, it's a little bit
No,
bad.
we need to get babies
You know
who
what?
don't even know how to talk yet to play our
How
game.
about this? Let's go to my place of work and let's get some people who have short-term memory loss, maybe some dementia, get them to play it, see how they do.
My mom only plays Farmville, so she could be a game tester.
We'll get all of our moms.
Yeah.
Like,
Hear that? Evil Pig Productions built our quality assurance on moms. That's us, guys.
I could get my dad to play test it too. He played Mario
Moms
a lot.
and dads. I'll probably get my dad too.
Yeah.
Honestly, your dad. I would could also use your dad. I mean,
yeah, he's played games in the past.
Honestly,
so.
I think we need to do a bunch of different skill level people play it. Like, even if they have played games before, if they find something wrong with it because it just doesn't match up to other games, that's a thing too.
That's
Yeah,
True.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's
Get your
quality
brother to play it.
assurance.
Yeah.
It's quality assurance. It's not bug finding, or does this make sense assurance? It's quality
Yeah.
assurance.
We
Yeah.
can't say anything while they play. We just have to watch them and cringe like, oh.
Yep. Just watch them. Take notes. Don't say anything.
Feel bad
That's
for
so
them.
hard. I
Uh-huh.
can't do that.
You're gonna have to
I
leave the room
remember,
badly.
I remember hearing you don't want to seem like you're not interested in what they're doing. You want to still seem interested in what they're doing, and maybe even listen to what they're saying. Maybe respond every so often,
You can listen to what they're saying and stuff. Yeah.
and then just write it down. But don't
We're
say
nowhere
something.
near that point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, just don't say things like, "Oh, you're supposed to do that."
I told him
Or
when we
things
get
like
the
that.
first level done and like enemies implemented, maybe not even CRAD, just like the first part,
Yeah.
have them look at that.
No, I want Crad to be
After
there.
we get game fill done, maybe see if they at least like the fill of the game and going back from character select and stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of game fill and everything, this Sunday, all game fill should be implemented, and combat. Let's do this, guys.
Sometimes he's a bit crazy. Like last time I got there, he was like, "Okay, so today I want to have the whole surface completed, like that whole level." I was like, "in combat," and I was like, "Well, actually, he didn't even say today. He was just like, okay, I want us to get the surface done in combat," and I was like, "Okay, by when?" And he was like, "Today," and I was like,
And then that day just ended up being about controls
"Yeah,
and kind of game feel.
yeah."
I like to try and go fast.
I mean, getting the controls down is really important. Though.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it is. Very important.
That's the first steps to combat.
In fact, you could say that getting controls done actually makes it a game. I mean, where would we be without controls in a
No.
video game?
I find this a
I
process
just
so
ignored the question.
so like cool, like such a cool learning experience because it is our like first like real like game experience and like Jonathan has no idea how long things take, but he's learning right now.
It definitely
also-
takes one day to complete what I said.
He also had no idea how storyboards worked, and now he knows.
Yeah.
I am a game designer, not a storyboard artist. In my defense, I plead innocent to the court.
No, but I think it's a cool learning experience and
It
everyone's
definitely
learning
is.
together.
Yeah.
and
I like it.
hopefully the game won't even look like we just threw together a bunch of people who were learning things and didn't know what they were doing. No, I think it looks really
I feel
good.
like the more that we learn as we're creating the game, the better the game looks.
Yeah, I
It's-
think so too.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like we took an idea that was like out of a toilet, and then we placed it onto this silver platter of expectations, and then we just started to polish it, and now it's starting to turn into like a beef stromboli or something like that. It's starting to look pretty good. And I'm hoping that one day we get to look at it and it's going to be like one of those fancy French cuisines. And we'll release it, make $1 million, never see the world again. We'll just escape to our Cuban island.
I'm expecting it the other way. I'm like, I'm gonna have like these rose-colored glasses on. I'm gonna be like, it's amazing because it's my baby, you know. After all this work I'm doing, and then no one's gonna buy it, I'm gonna cry. No.
I'm like the opposite. I'm always worried that it's gonna be bad no matter what.
Oh. See, what everyone has just experienced. Oh, in fact, that's not even... I was going to say what everyone just experienced was the ego, the super ego, and the id, but that's not. That's like the opposite. I guess the only thing that makes sense is me being the super ego, but then you, the ego, you want to be the id, though.
You need to just
I'm not gonna-
describe these terms because I don't know what it means.
It's psychology. Badly.
I know that, but I still don't know what the terms
I don't remember.
specifically mean.
There's a lot of things I learned and forgot. How to make room for all that animation stuff.
Understand. So why are we laughing? I'm pretty sure he's Googling what they mean.
I'm not Googling anything.
Sliding his phone out.
I'm not Googling anything, guys.
Okay, then what are you doing?
I am just checking to see.
He's skimming through his brain to remember his brain archive to remember what they were. While he does that, though, I am almost done with all the backgrounds. I'm pretty sure. I've been working on boss backgrounds. The last one I did took for frickin' ever. Each recording session I did of Illidan's background was like an hour long, and that was over like 5 maybe recording sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to trim it down so much. It was like the longest one I've ever done. And that was because I was looking at a real nuclear power plant while I was making it. And so I was like, oh, there's all these different pipes. I'm going to draw all those different pipes. I was just like, this was a mistake. Why did I do this?
A lot of the struggles that Megan goes through is battling with her own consciousness. So,
Megan really likes detail. It's what makes her images so good, though.
I feel like you just lied right there. I think Megan hates detail. She just thinks that she can do detail.
Well, it's just that all her character designs always have such cool detail.
No, they don't.
I think they do when I look at them.
By the way, I've remembered what id, superego, and ego is, just so that you guys know. Id is the uncoordinated instinctual trends. The superego plays the critical and moralizing role, and the ego is the organized, realistic part that meditates between the desires of the id and superego. So, truthfully, suppose Megan would have been the ego, Natalie would have been the id, and I would have been the superego.
All right.
Technically. All right, back on track.
I definitely heard your words, but...
So did the audience. You remember how we were talking about game feel and how some games just feel like a game? That was basically what I gave a reference to in what I just said.
But yeah, all my characters, I like compare to other people's stuff, and my characters are pretty simple, Natalie.
Oh.
Not as simple as like some cartoons simple, because cartoons gotta be really simple for easy animation, but there are times I'm just like, I'm gonna make this detailed character, and then I make them really pretty simple.
I guess I'm just comparing it to how I draw, and I have no patience for that.
I don't have a lot of patience either, which is why my characters aren't as detailed as I would like them to be.
Well, they're impressive to me, so.
Well, I'm glad. But all I have to do, I think, for just like the normal backgrounds is the factory. Is it abandoned factory or some factory background?
It's not an abandoned factory. It is just the factory, and I believe you already did the magma pits.
Yeah, I already did the magma pits.
So just the factory.
Yeah, and then just boss backgrounds. And the factory should be easier because I was looking at the references Jonathan put, and it was like basically just caves, which I love to do because they're so easy, and stairs in his references. That was your factory.
I might need to look at that again.
I was like, after I did Illidan's background, I was like scrolling through the art Bible again, and I was like, I should have done that.
I might need to destroy your expectations. I have no idea. But on that note, I think that we're actually good on time. We have done a very long podcast, I feel like.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, okay.
just acceptance, just like, oh, okay, we still had other things to talk about, but we'll save that for next time. It's actually been really fun this time. I'm going to be honest with you, the other podcasts felt kind of forced. Would you say that?
Yeah,
We were listing off a lot of things.
it might just be because...
Practice.
I don't know if it's practice. I think we're just in a good mood today.
I think that Natalie is lying to herself and the audience because I think it was practice.
Jonathan, you're the only one that practiced.
I don't practice, yeah.
I didn't practice.
If I practiced, I'd get nervous. You only practice things if it's like super.
Well, I'm
life
not
or
saying
death,
that you've
right?
actually practiced yourself. I'm saying that we've done this so many times now that we're starting to get used to it and we're starting to actually fit more into the role.
No, I think we're just in a good mood today.
Well, here full. Well, here.
That's gonna be me and Natalie's gameplay when we do a game. Just like
Rubbing off on me. You heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. That's what I'm trying to say.
You heard it here first, folks.
There we go.
There we go. Natalie took all of my skill. But next podcast, apparently, we're not going to be in a good mood.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows how
I still say that we've been doing this so much that we are actually getting better at it. I still have to say that.
Plus, we had a lot of things to talk about this time. So I think that helps.
Or maybe it's just because I'm practicing, so I'm rubbing off on you guys. Let's go ahead and put a little bow on this podcast. Tighten it. Make it look pretty. I think we are good to go. This has been the month in review for April 2019. I have been Jonathan Moore, the lead game designer.
I'm Natalie Thompson, the lead graphic designer and lead programmer.
I'm Megan Slade, the lead artist and lead animator.
And we will see you guys next month.
Bye.
Bye.